Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of the 831 podcast. Firstly, thanks to everybody who's listened so far to episode 1. It's had a really good reception, some good feedback. I'm really thankful for everybody who listened and really thankful for all your comments. It's been really positive. Sasha was of course a great first guest, and I was really happy to sit down with her. Once I got the podcast out, I'm really happy that people listened to it and it reached a wide group of people. Not just friends from the paragliding community, but also friends from the MMA community, just general friends, etc. Thanks to everyone who listened. Sasha had good feedback from it, so please keep hitting her up, follow her, stick to her Instagram, etc. And yeah, let's keep the ball rolling for her. She's got lots of projects coming up, so keep following that one. I've been working on putting some new guests together, so I've got a few things lined up that we're going to work towards sorting out and taking care of. We're going to get those people in and we're going to sit down and have a chat, some interesting people, but I'm always looking for new people. So if you guys have got any suggestions, I've had a few suggestions already, but if you guys have got any suggestions of guests who you'd like to hear me talk to, hit them up, send them over to me, get them in contact with me. Anybody, we're looking to just talk to anybody who's interested. And if you think they deserve a platform to share something, give me a shout and give them a shout, and hopefully we can put something together and we can keep the podcast rolling. Basically, with me, things have been pretty much the same. Been getting by, lots of paragliding, having fun, some training, etc. I want to thank again, sponsor-wise, this podcast will always be sponsored by Trojan Nutrition. So hit up Trojan Fitness in Ashton, Trojan Nutrition for your nutrition supplements. Always looking for more sponsors. Keep this podcast rolling. Doesn't have to be financial sponsors. You know, we can work something out. It'd just be great to be working with local businesses, etc. So yeah, hit me up there. So today I sat down for episode 2 of the 831 podcast. It's with a long-term friend, a former coach throughout my MMA career, Kevin O'Hagan. Kevin's a well-known martial artist, mixed martial artist in Bristol and throughout the southwest. Been a martial artist for many years. Great guy, fun guy. We've always had a great relationship, even though when we had rival gyms, so to speak, we had a great relationship. We'd share sparring, and my guys would go to him, his guys would come up and train with myself and Paul Reed. So we've had a great relationship with him and both his sons, Jake and Tom. So I was keen to sit down and talk with Kev, but he's recently written another book, like his 10th or 11th book, I believe. So he's releasing that in the next couple of months. So it was great to sit down and have a chat with him about that, about his route into martial arts. And yeah, a really interesting guy. Lots to say, lots to share. So I'm happy that I got to sit down, and I think this is a good podcast. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, a little bit of something for everybody. As I said, looking for more guests, so keep them coming. But for now, in the meantime, yeah, listen to Kev. Hit me up with all your feedback again. This is now available on most formats. Through iTunes, it's available podcast, Addict, etc. Available pretty much anywhere where you can get a podcast. So have a listen. Let us know exactly what you think. All feedback welcome, positive, negative, etc. Yeah, hit me up. Cheers, guys. Hiya Kev, thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming on and having a chat with me.
Pleasure, Wes.
Since I decided I was going to do a podcast, I had you in mind as a guest for a long time because I'm known for MMA probably mainly, and you were very much at the forefront of my journey in MMA. And I would say pretty much anybody who's done MMA in Bristol, back in the original, not like there's a new breed of MMA now, but everyone who sort of started MMA or got in some sort of jiu-jitsu or fun, pretty much everyone's come to you or they've trained with you at some point. And I think my career started with you, as did a lot of other people. So I thought it'd be nice to speak with you and see how things are going. You're obviously very diverse, got a lot of things going on, and just want to have a catch up basically.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
I just so how long have you been in like martial arts and stuff, mate? You're like a lifelong, right? You've dedicated your life to martial arts, so.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in martial arts now for 42 years. I first started when I was 14, and it became a passion for me. Straight away, I just knew it was something that I wanted to do. And since then, there's never been a time that I haven't been training in it. So it has literally become a lifetime time pursuit for me.
Where did it start? What martial art?
It started right back in '75 with the Bruce Lee era, Kung Fu. At the time, he was a massive star. Everybody wanted to do Kung Fu. It was a new sort of kid on the block. So that's where I started. I trained at a little club down by the Bristol bus station back in the day. A guy used to travel down from Birmingham to teach every Friday night, and we'd do a 3-hour class there, and that was my sort of introduction really to martial arts, and loved it.
And that helped you from there.
Yeah, sort of from there.
The original mixed martial arts, Bruce Lee, who's accredited, like his system was obviously accredited to mixed martial arts, and it is.
Yes, it is.
It's just like I find it. People always, I mean, I have massive respect for Bruce Lee, obviously, because of what he did and stuff. But as a martial artist, obviously, like the best, gotta be the best. But it's a shame there's not more combative stuff of his. It's very choreographed, sort of fight stuff, etc. And then now that give everyone the building blocks to create what we now call MMA.
And
go forward from there.
Yeah, I mean, he was well ahead of his time. Back in the '60s, he was training with focus pads and kick shields and stuff that was unheard of in traditional martial arts, but he'd already seen, I suppose, where he thought the future of martial arts would go. And ironically, when MMA come along, it was really preaching things that he was talking about way back in the middle '60s, and it took a while for people to get on board with that and realise that there was no one martial artist got all the answers. And there's something to pick up from each and every one of them.
It's mad as well. Like his legacy obviously just still lives on. When you think of like legends, Elvis Presley and Pele with football and Muhammad Ali, like these guys are all obviously legends of what they did. But now you don't really hear like the younger generation talking about them. If people talk about great footballers now, they're talking about Ronaldo or Messi. They're not talking about Pele or great boxers. Every now and again, the youth will mention Muhammad Ali, but Bruce Lee, like even now today, Bruce Lee still comes up as like a legend. Everyone knows who Bruce Lee is. I think that's cool. To like, he set such a precedent that he's still like very prominent and apparent nowadays. I think that's really cool. But so I met you. Probably 15 years ago now. Me and James Thompson came to you and started doing some training when you were up at Lifestyles, and it was, I don't know if it, like, what style did you call it back then? What were you teaching?
I always say to people I got into MMA before it was actually called MMA. So back then it was Vale Tudo, no holds barred fighting, and that's really what it was. There wasn't a name coined for it literally at the time, and it was only later on that the name mixed martial arts come up. So it was a melting pot really for people of all styles to come together and begin to sort of test out their skills and see how they held up. So at the time it was really experimental time. I say now a lot of younger guys coming into the sport now are fortunate. There's MMA everywhere. Back then there wasn't nothing, so you had people from different martial arts backgrounds really beginning to experiment and trailblaze what now has become a massive thing. So I look back and think, I was really fortunate to be in it the sort of dawn of it really, and the guys that trained with me very much the same, because at the time I was the only person in Bristol that was teaching what we coined as MMA. So it was good to start it down there in just a little sort of small room down below a gym. But we developed a lot of really good fighters that went on to great success. So,
we didn't even have mats down, did we?
No, one bag, couple of mats down, nothing really. No ring, no cage, nothing no.
Look, because I fell into it by accident. I was doing bailiff work with James Thompson, and he's like, I'm going to have a cage fight. Because there was no MMA, it was cage fight.
That's right,
going to have a cage fight. And he said, I was like, are you? He said, but I don't know how to fight on the ground. You're a judo guy, can you teach me some stuff? I was like, yeah, of course. And we started working together, and of course he was like, you'd be good at this. And I was like, 18 or 19, I was like, yeah, I'd do that, like, you know, full of spunk. And he's like, oh, come to this class that I'm going to go to with Kevin O'Egan. I was like, yeah, I'll come. And I didn't go for like the first couple of times, and James had been. He's like, mate, this class is really good, like, you should come. And I came along, and that was it. I saw it. There was like an aspect that I never thought, because me and James would hit some pads or something, knowing fuck all about boxing, looking back at it, nothing about boxing, but hit some pads, and we would obviously grapple with my judo knowledge, and then we came to yourself, who you had sort of pieced it together somehow. So I was like, right, okay, so, and when I go back and I look at how it was now, I was like, yeah, I'm out of my depth, I can't do this. Like, but then again, me and James were the only people in the whole of Bristol who were looking at fighting, you know, there was nobody.
Yeah, no, that's true,
that was it was just us two, and so I was looking, I was like, fuck, man, this guy could kick my ass. Like, well, how am I going to go and fight in a cage? I don't know I'm going to be fighting. So, yeah, we just stuck with it and stuck training. And, yeah, it just grabs you, right? Because it's so different.
Yes.
It grabs you, and that's what it did with yourself. And then, obviously, moved on. But my first fight, you fought on the same show. You fought Sammy, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was like, a great night.
Great night, because me, you, and James on the same show. Did, trained all the way through together and that. And, yeah, but looking now, as you said, with the younger guys, I look now, and there's like 24-year-olds now, and I'll train with them, and I mean, they're like, it's a real hard time, like really struggling with them, and it's not an age thing, it's just for the first, I'd say like 7 years of, maybe 8 years of training MMA, we didn't have a clue. We were just piecing bits together, you know, and exactly from that, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wise, I mean, I went to Brazil and trained with the Gracies in like 2011 or something, and I trained there, and obviously I saw proper jiu-jitsu, how good it was, and we had Carlos Esquihega was teaching us over here with Trojan, and I saw it, and we learnt some stuff, and I came back and I was thinking, I'm one of the top Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys now, I've done 3 weeks, that's me, I'm good to go. And you look now, and these guys, although I've got 8 years, I had 8 years of training before that happened, so I've only realistically got 7 years of MMA training. Then I teach these guys, or you teach these guys, they're 24 and they've been doing it for 6 years. They've got all that knowledge that we've shared with them, and they've skipped a beat, you know, they're straight there, 24-year-old killers ready to go.
Yeah, definitely.
And just they're in a really good place now with the sport. You get the people like the Conor McGregor, etc., who've managed to really utilise from that, because they're getting taught a proper system instead of just piecing it together.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's the advantage. You know, back then we were literally finding things as you went along, testing them out, seeing if they worked, if they didn't, back to the drawing board, let's see if we can find something else. I can remember very early on in one of my early amateur fights, I got caught in a knee bar about 25 seconds from the end of the fight, which I was winning, but at the time I just didn't know how to get out of it. You thought, what's this? You've never seen it before. Yeah. So afterwards, then you went back and thought, right, that hole there, I'm going to have to find out some way to get out of it. And it was really difficult to find that information. Now people take this all for granted, but literally back then, you might get caught in something you've never seen before and then try and hunt it down and find a counter out for it. So, you know, it really was, that was the way it was taught. And I think you sort of hit on something that you said. What I managed to do, and what I always felt as a coach my forte was piecing everything together to show people how to go from boxing range to wrestling to ground. Although I'm not an expert in any of those things, I had that ability to be able to see it and fuse it together, and that's what I loved, being able to take somebody who could, you know, punch, kick, but also show them how to neutralise that to avoid being taken down and win a fight stood up if that's what they want to do, and vice versa. So, but it was a long learning curve to be able to get to a point where myself or even any of my guys would step into the cage. You know, now people sort of go in there after like you know 6 weeks training.
There's like a status symbol now of like being, because it's now MMA. Like when we started, it was cage fighting. I can remember when we said, me and James were doing, they're like, that's that Wesley Murch, he's a cage fighter, that's a kid. And you're like, it's baffling that it was unheard of, it was underground, it was in nightclubs where 50 people came to watch it the most, and now everybody's an MMA fighter because they've done 4 classes and they're having an amateur fight, or even the combat sports tryouts that we used to do.
Great.
They were like every 6 months there'd be one, so that was it. It was all we had all year, and you train for that. Now you can decide you're going to be MMA fighter on the Monday and fight on the Saturday.
Without a doubt, I always found, for me, it was a great honour to get into the cage because when this all come about, and I suppose the first time I was aware of what was to be MMA was probably about maybe 96, 97, and I started watching the early UFCs and stuff like that, and I loved it, but I was probably about maybe 36, 37 then, and I never in my wildest dreams thought I could even get in there. So when it come to the point where I did, it was a great honour for me, and I was really, pleased that I could do that, and I'll never forget that, But now I think people just go in and out of there like it's nothing, and I don't think it's got that same aura about it. It had back, my day, even your day.
I mean, I think along the same lines that white collar boxing kind of does the same, in that I've seen like doing the doors and stuff, hearing people talk and being on the scene as you are, like. People talk about their training like their white collar boxing training. They talk as if they're they're training like a professional. Yeah, I know what you're talking about with your fight camp, mate. Yeah, I've just done 0 to hero or white collar boxing, and I'm like, listen, I don't want to take away from what you're doing at all, but it's not. And you can't, without sounding like a dick, you can't. But you look at people. Like, I've been fortunate, as you have, that we were around so early that lots of the great local guys, and I mean on a further scale because I've managed to train over the world, but like Paul Reed, Nad Naramani, Ronnie Mann, like myself and you have both taught or trained with these guys. Yes. They're local guys, and someone like Paul Reed to take up the sport at 33, I think he was, and get to like the 2nd ranked featherweight in the UK at one point. The dedication that guy put into being where he was, like working late shifts, finishing at 7, coming to the gym just so you can have an hour pad session with me, then you go and do cardio, then you go home and go to bed to get up and do another session. And you see that sort of dedication that guy put into being a professional. It didn't matter whether he was going to be a professional MMA fighter or a professional rock climber. He was just going to be really professional about it.
Yeah.
And that seems to be diluted and lost now because people go to a couple of training sessions, they hit pads and they can get for a 3-minute pad session, and they take it that they're ready to go in the cage, So it's one of those, I love that the sport's grown and I love where it's gone, but I think it has sort of lost that mysticism and that integrity that someone like yourself was saying. It was such an honour for you to get in the cage, and that's sort of lost. And some people are, you can see it in fights, they're going in there because their mates are cheering them.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
That is lost. And but what do you do? How does the sport grow?
Yes.
Without that, you just try and look. I know the way you teach and the way that I teach. How you said about piecing things together, is very. When I teach a class of say 30 people, I can only teach, say, 5 people one way, then 10 people another way. Because people learn differently. People don't respond correctly. People might come from a striking background, and I'm now teaching them grappling, and then the other side of the mat, it's the opposite. And so being able to piece that together in your own head, but then having to break it back down to teach someone individually, I think that's a great side of the sport, with all these different people coming through and the variety of people we get trained. That's a great side of it for someone like yourself and me, who I'm coming towards the end of my career, that teaching can still be so exciting, you know. And you're fortunate enough to have fought, but unfortunate enough that you didn't make a career out of MMA because it came too late for you.
Yes, certainly.
But you've been lucky enough now that you've changed the face of MMA, certainly in Bristol, and you can focus yourself on it,
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah, it was certainly something that that I wanted to do. I mean, when MMA come along, you just knew this was going to be the next big thing, and you could either get on the train and go with it, or you could bury your head in the sand and ignore it, But I've always been open-minded with martial arts training from day one. I love to train with everyone and anyone, so for me, it was a great avenue to test those mix or skills that you picked up. Because my base art for a long time was jiu-jitsu, there was no real format for jiu-jitsu. It was either judo competition or karate competition, but nothing that allowed the two. So you found if you went into one or the other, you inevitably got disqualified or warned because you were doing something you shouldn't. So I can remember before, you know, MMA come along, there was something called the Jiu-Jitsu Kumite. It was developed so that Jiu-Jitsu fighters could fight. So you just wore little gloves and a gi, and you could punch and kick and take people down, and you either won by submission or you won by points. And that was the first time I found a format that suited what I was doing. You know, you thought, great, I can hit, but I can also, you know, take down. So, you know, I competed in that for a little while before then going on to MMA. So that was a great springboard to be able to do something. Otherwise, there just wasn't nothing for people that were doing jiu-jitsu at the time. Like, you know?
What was your first exposure to MMA? What was your first fight you saw?
It was the UFC 1, you know. I remember buying a videotape from America of it. I'd read about it in some of the American magazines, but I watched it, and it was great. You know, I'd read things before about way back in the day, sort of in the 60s, about like Gene LaBelle. He sort of fought a boxer back in the day there, and he took him down and choked him out and all that. So there was little stories about these sort of encounters, but you'd never actually seen anything first hand in your own time.
Muhammad Ali as well, didn't he?
Muhammad Ali, when the guy, he's just led on his back and kicked his legs for 15 rounds, and Ali sort of couldn't do nothing about it. Bit of an anti-climax. I remember as a kid really looking forward to that, and when I seen it, it was a bit of a downer. But you can see that guy, this is my world. This is right, and I don't want to come into yours, and I'm not gonna. So I suppose that's where MMA bridged that gap. Like,
I mean, when you got someone as famous as Muhammad Ali taking part in something, it's coming.
Amazing.
You know, it's coming. The sport's coming at that point.
Think about doing it
because you get lucky enough that you see something like that, but you're left with the. But what if he would have stood up? And then what if he would have gone to the ground? So that's when it it all falls out of that, you know. And someone like, it's the same with this Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather thing. That people ask me all the time, of course. They're like, "What do you think of it?"
And I'm like,
well, it's shit boxing. And it's crap MMA because there's going to be no MMA, and it's not going to be the best boxing match I've ever seen. But it's super exciting. Like I'm 100% watching it, and I think it's amazing that Conor's making the money that he's making from it. He's changing the sport for everybody in that he's not so much from the athlete side of things, but for people watching it. The amount of people who now watch MMA just off the back of Conor. It's superb, and I was lucky enough to see Conor's career. I've been fighting obviously a lot longer, so I've seen his career. You've seen his career grow. So you see someone like that come up through the ranks, and he was always talked about, and now he's where he is. Superb, but you get this thing with the Mayweather, and people like that. I think he's going to knock him out. I think Conor's going to knock him out. And I'm like, let's not be confused. But I don't like Mayweather. Listen,
doesn't matter.
I fought people I don't like. They still kick my ass. There's no he is the best at what he does. I'm not going to say the best boxer. I wouldn't say he's the best boxer of all time, but he's the best at what he does. There's no, and I was dubious about Mayweather in the people that he fought until he fought Canelo recently, and Canelo couldn't put a glove on him. That made me think. You're fighting someone in their prime, and you're coming towards the end of yours, and still this guy's got no chance of getting near you. So it made me think. You know what? The guy's absolutely legit. But it's interesting because if Conor tags in,
of course it is. It's always that what if. So people will watch, generates a lot of money. So And it's always weird when you say this, because I still feel like we're 2017. MMA's been around for 20 odd years, and I still feel a bit strange when I say to people, I enjoy fighting. Like I do. Not even just compete, but I enjoy watching fighting. And it just, people still, you can tell they look in their eyes. They have this perception of who you are. As soon as you say you enjoy fighting, I enjoy to watch fighting, or I enjoy to. Why do you do it? Why do you get punched? I really enjoy it. I enjoy punching people. I enjoy getting punched back. The technical side of it, figuring out what's going wrong. I enjoy that, and I still feel now when I say it, like, should I really say that? Should I say that I enjoy that? But something like this Mayweather and McGregor thing is crossing those boundaries, and so many people are just looking forward to it now. I think it's another new wave coming for
for MMA, you know.
Yeah, certainly.
Hopefully not too celebrity. I don't want it to get too.
No.
You know, we don't want to get him too watered down.
That little bit of
And become like, you don't want to become in the WWE.
No,
do we,
definitely
you know?
not. No.
Script. Look, we've had the times of questioning whether stuff's real.
Yeah,
back in
certainly,
Pride and stuff.
Yeah,
and we don't want to go back.
Yeah.
Footsteps back to that, definitely.
Yeah, no, that would be a step backwards.
Yeah. So you like that was your MMA and how we met, etc. But you also, because of your liking for martial arts, you've got other avenues that you went down. You went down like the edge weapon stuff, the self-defense route, etc.
Yeah.
Do you find it like, does that give you as much stimulation as your?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you say, there'll be certain people that will know me from MMA, but there'll be other people that would have known me from my combat jiu-jitsu and self-defense. So I see them as two separate parts of my life and career. And now I've sort of come full circle again, where I'm back teaching more of the combat jiu-jitsu and self-defense, and enjoying it now even more than I did sort of first time round. So it's a different aspect, which has always fascinated me. And I guess MMA was a nice distraction down another route as well for me. So basically, I always find that my roots were definitely in the self-defense side of martial arts more so than the sporting side.
I think if you've got kids now and they're not doing some sort of self-defense, you're crazy. You're like the world that we live in now is just so like any sort of defense and just something, you know. And we can't. I think you can't just take your kids to do some kata karate at the local like sports centre and think that that's enough. Like just something. You don't need to promote violence to your kids or anything, but you know, some sort of defence in the world, just in the world that we live in now. And you hear about like just muggings for mobile phones and all this sort of stuff. You just some sort of having a 16-year-old daughter. I've been teaching her like, obviously stuff for years, but having a 16-year-old daughter, I still worry now.
Yeah, sure.
Groups of girls, you know, like she says, "Oh, Dad, like so and so happened in school, and this group of girls had a fight with this one girl," and it's crazy to think that that's the world. But you know, if you're not teaching your kids something, if you can't look past, it's okay doing rugby and football, and by all means make that their main focus, but something, you know, once a week, once a fortnight, a little boxing class or a little jiu-jitsu class. I think you just need to be doing something now, and also for adults as well, like girls who are going out clubbing, etc., and people who are, I don't think that being in your 50s isn't a reason to not train. That's a great time. The older you get, the more vulnerable you get. That's just a fact of life, you know. And so I think as you get that vulnerability, seek out something that can help you, or because even, you know, you don't, if someone's going to attack you and you're in your 50s, etc., 60s maybe, I'm not saying you need to fight with these people. It's probably best if you don't, but if you can at least defend yourself enough that it makes this person think, I'm getting out of here. I think it's a side now that people see the sporting side of fighting, but that defence side is interested me, and it's something that I've taught defence classes, but I've never really explored it like yourself with the edge weapons and etc. But I really like it. I think it's a good avenue. It's broad, right?
I think also for people that may have had a sporting career, there's also another avenue for them to carry on their martial arts training. You know, you get to an age where, you know, being kicked around the legs and punching the head's no longer a fun thing for you. So rather than having to give everything up and thinking, well, that's it, I've had my day, you can filter into other areas of martial arts, continue your training, maybe get belt graded in it if it's what you want to do, and there's no reason why you can't stay on the mats in some shape or form as long as you want to. You know, of course you won't be training as a sort of professional athlete at the height of your sort of day, but you can still train and enjoy it and feel that you can look after yourself if the need be, really, you know, and also pass that on to everybody. I think all kids right the way through should be taught. I think really it should be part of a school curriculum, you know, always have been, but sadly it's not. So then they do have to come to places to find that training, and it's nice to be able to cater for them.
I mean, I've taught a couple of things at schools, and I've actually got I'm doing a whole day at a school up near Swindon, I think it is. I'm doing a whole day teaching wrestling seminars to 6 different groups, hour-long wrestling seminars to 6 different groups up there this month. So I think it's good that because of the exposure, teachers are hopefully bringing it into schools and stuff, you know. And I remember going to a school a few years ago and speaking to them about teachers and stuff, and they said, we're going to have to sell it as like boxing and wrestling because if NAMMA gets heard, like, it'll just be told, no, we can't do that. So we had to like downplay everything as grappling and wrestling and stuff, just because of obviously the reputation or the perception of what it is. But I agree with you, as a curriculum, I think that it does have a place, because people are still lost of the opinion, like the archaic opinion that martial arts breeds violence, which it's obviously the complete opposite. The most disciplined people, so people say to me, I've had it a few times, people say to me, like if I'm at a club or something, working on the door, and they're like, oh, you must have like a confidence knowing you're probably the hardest person in here. And I'm like, well, I don't ever really work like that for me. Like I have a confidence in knowing that I can deal with any situation. So a violent situation, or one that's about to be violent, I can generally turn around and negate all violence just because I have the confidence to approach that verbally. A lot of people, especially if you're working on the door, like bouncers, situations escalate to violence lots more rapid than I think they need to, because people don't have the confidence to approach a situation and be verbal. They see something happening and they're so worried about what the next move's going to be. Am I going to get hit? Is someone going to go in violent or guns blazing? You know, I think that having that knowledge and obviously the years of training allows you to approach a situation so much differently, and you can be verbal for that much longer, because if someone does do something, you obviously can react. You know how to react, and I mean, even if they did get a sneaky one in and they caught you, you're used to getting a hit. You're not, your world's not going to end, and you're not going to be. You know, I think that it just sets you up that I can talk to you, and no matter how aggressive you are, I can find a way to, you know, and very much back down and make yourself look. Many situations I'll back down. I'll make myself look like I'm in the wrong to diffuse the situation. Because having a fight with a drunk bloke in a bar means nothing when you fought around the world in an MMA fight. You know. So I think that's
where you've got nothing to prove, and people that have gone out there and put their sort of neck on the line, they've got an inner confidence that if it goes pear-shaped, they can do something, but they haven't got the need to push it there. I think most people that go straight into it, they're looking for something to prove. You know, they want to see what they're all about, and you know, and
they're scared.
Or
it's
just
nervous.
Fear makes them do it.
You
know, and then afterwards they may look back and think, I handled that wrong. So, you know, I was just talking to somebody earlier on. Like when I first got into martial arts as a 14-year-old boy, I wanted to learn to look after myself, and I thought by having all these skills, it would get rid of fears, and it would get rid of sort of lack of confidence and things like that, and it did to a certain extent, but it never actually got rid of all the things that I thought it would, you know. So I still didn't like confrontation. Even when I could handle myself, I didn't know what to do, and it wasn't until later in my journey when I started looking into that side of things and the psychological side of violence and how the body reacts, etc., I realised that was the missing piece, you know. And as soon as I found that, as you were saying, you began to understand what your body was going through under the stress. You learned to verbalise, diffuse situations where before all you thought was, I'm going to have to hit this person because I don't know what else to do. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people, you know. If they can't articulate their frustration, they'll hit you instead. And I think, you know, when you work with people for long enough, particularly if you work in security in the doors, you begin to realise that. And the person is getting frustrated, rather than belittling them or making them look stupid so that they will take a swing, you've got to have that ability to, I understand what you're saying, mate, you know, let's talk about it and calm it down. And I think that's a greater skill than being able to throw any punch, you know, without a doubt, you know, and I sort of applaud that. And, you know, I think one of the things for me in this day and age, there's a lot of self-defense systems out there now that sort of sprang up in the last maybe 10 years. And one of the problems for me is, they're teaching good technique, but they're teaching it on what I call the high end of the scale. So if you had a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being maybe somebody's drunk and giving you a bit of verbal, and 10 somebody's coming at you with a knife, then my problem is they treat 1 and 10 as the same thing. So there's no in between. So I think what it does, it promotes the wrong mindset for people that every encounter is a life and death encounter. So they're breaking arms, snapping necks, gouging eyes, where all the guy's done is flick a peanut at you from across the bar, and suddenly like he's a pool on the floor. So you know, I always found when jiu-jitsu for me had lots of options. It was very good. It was good at like controlling, restraining somebody, you know, maybe hitting them with a pressure point, taking them to the floor and pinning them, or we could be right up the other scale. If you had to break somebody's arm or choke them out, you could do that. And I think, you know, a good martial arts system should be wary of that and try and teach the level of force to be proportionate with the threat that they're facing. You know, and I think sometimes this day and age, a lot of systems are guilty of not doing that. Like, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I just like from being on the door and so, I mean, I still work at the door now, and for my sins, unfortunately, but I sort of enjoy it. Like I enjoy meeting people. Like I'm a personable person. I like to meet people. I like to verbalise and exchange and talk, and so I like that side of it. I'm not scared of confrontation in the slightest. I prefer not to have confrontation, but I'm not scared of it. And also, I feel that I work with my brother in a good solid team, and I feel that when you're there as a team, I can help the guys who have not got as much experience. I mean, I'm doing the door 17 years, you know, and obviously you see it all in that. People stab each other, glass and in the face, girls biting each other. Like, you've seen it all. So you can help the guys who are just getting into it, and you can hopefully steer them away from making mistakes, where CCTV's everywhere now. If you put a hand on someone, you have to justify that now, you know, and people are so quick to run to the police now that has to be justified. So hopefully I can help steer people away from making mistakes that would get them to that situation. But at the same time, you add a bit of solidity to the group as well. You make it a bit more solid. I have a big background. I can go and I can deal with situations, with 6-man situations, vocally, take care of it. So I'm there, oh, fuck, I thought it was going to go off then. I was ready for it. I was that's where you went wrong. You shouldn't have been ready for it. You should have think, right, let's avoid anything we can to avoid that. And, you know, it just adds that extra little niche to it just through the experience, you know. But like you say, I think that only comes from my experience, from my background, from training, and having that confidence, you know, like marrows over. Did you do the doors at all yourself?
When I was young, for a short period of time.
Because I think Jeff Thompson spoke highly about you, didn't he? It was in his book. Did he mention in his book? It was.
A photo of him.
And a photo.
So I was good friends with Jeff, and sort of met him after he wrote his first book. You know, Watch My Back. I really liked it. It struck a chord with me, and a lot of things he was saying, you know, I could relate to, and I thought I need to meet this guy. So, you know, I got to meet him, and I trained with him on numerous occasions, and went up to Coventry and whatnot, and we become good friends from it. And, you know, he was also helpful in other areas of my life, sort of opened a few doors for me, which was nice. But yeah, it's just the same thing. I did it for a short period of time, but it was something that I'd done at the time and then moved on. You know, I got married young, had children. I began to realise, you know, this is maybe not for me. You know, I need to be doing something a bit more stable. So
if I had a missus in that, mate, I wouldn't be on the door. It's just, for me, it's easy money, because I go to work, I can have a bit of a flirt, or I have a chat with the lads, and I get paid. Like last night I worked, I get paid for nothing. You know, I get paid to have a little bit of a flirt with people and go home at the end of the night. That's money for nothing for me. If I had a missus at home for me, I'd be off the door definitely. You know, just because it is a ball ache job. But it's not, to be fair, mate, it's not how it was 15 years ago. 10 years ago, the door was a crap place to be. I mean, it was a lot more violent back then. It's not anymore. It's a much better environment now. But it's still not. It's antisocial hours, and the money's still really poor. Like, the flyer staff get the same money as you get an hour now. And it's crazy, you know. But so you were in Jesper, but you've written a few books yourself. How many books in total now?
I think it's 10 up to present. I have got a book hopefully due out by the end of this year, and it's sort of really, it's an autobiography of my whole career. I feel I've reached like a crossroads in my career where a lot of things I set out to do, I achieved. I was fortunate enough to do that. And you get to a point where, you know, your head's hitting the ceiling, metaphorically. You sort of think there's nothing really much left to challenge me in that area. So I thought it'd be nice to put everything down in print from sort of right back as a 14-year-old boy, all my experiences right through to where I was now. So, you know, I've tried this occasionally before, but maybe you know, I wasn't at the right time for me to do it. There was stuff that I didn't want to talk about, but now I looked at it with a different eye, and I've been quite candid and open about good and bad, you know, of all the experiences, the people I've met, the places I've been, and how it shaped me from a kid that, you know, could have gone into something else, you know, gone the wrong way. Martial arts was a massive thing for me. It put me on the right track. I met some wonderful people, and you know, it shaped me for what I am today. So it's cool when we were warriors, and hopefully, you know, we'll see it out by the end of this year, and you know, it'll be on my website, etc. So yeah, it'd be great if people have a look out for it and give it a read.
Yeah, definitely, and a read back over the other books. So the other books are subject.
Yeah, they're sort of self-defense based. My first book, I think about 95 when I had it published. I'd written it, and I actually had the manuscript for 5 years before anybody decided to take it on. I had, you know, rejection after rejection, where eventually you think, hang on a minute, maybe this is no good, and I'm going to shelve it. And fortunate enough, somebody did come in and say, no, we like this. So, you know, they printed it for me. So what I wanted to do at the time was to come up with something different. There was a lot of book. If you went into, I don't know, W.H. Smith's Waterstones, you had the sort of learn karate in, you know, 6 months, judo for begin, and all this, and they weren't titles that jumped off the shelf at me. So I used to read a lot of American books, and they always had great titles that made you think, I want to buy that, even if it was crap when you actually got it.
Never
the
judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, you know,
always judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So by then you paid your money, and they thought, well, never mind. It's so I thought, I watched the film Roadhouse, a sort of classic film.
Made my brother watch that film when he started working the door.
Yeah, it's a classic film.
Great film.
You know, and the recurring theme was, you know, I thought you'd be bigger. And I thought, that's a great title for a book. And because, you know, I was never the biggest, tallest of people, and a lot of people I trained with over the years were always bigger than me, I developed lots of techniques for a smaller person. So I thought, let's write a book. So there's a guy that I knew who's like, he collects, avid collector of books, martial arts, and I said to him, you know, has anything ever been done like it? He said no. And I said, what should I do? He said, I suggest you get in there quick, because somebody else is going to steal the idea. So that's what I'd done, and you know, I got it published, and that was great. You know, to see that book in print it had been like a real labour of love for me, and to suddenly somebody turn up the door with a box, say, there you are, I thought, great, like, you know. Now I look back and I think, I could have written that better, but I mean, it's a learning process. Same with anything in this life, you know. You look back, and then it just went from there. I had other ideas, so I just wrote whenever I could. I just wrote and wrote. I look back, I laugh, because, you know, I was training really hard at the time. It's probably like at my hardest, and I'd come home absolutely exhausted, and everything I wrote, not on a computer at the time, it was pen, you know, and a pad, and my wife would type it up on an old typewriter. You know, there was no computer then. So, you know, sometimes I have a job to hold a pen and be falling asleep writing it, but I grinded it away, then she'd type it up, take my own photos, send it all off, and they would put it together and come back into a book, like, you know. So
that's amazing. That must be awesome, because when you're writing on a computer, you're getting the book.
Different.
You can see the books there in front of you.
Yeah, you just got a bundle of papers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
hoping somebody don't lose them. You know,
I think that is what, like, I did. Like, I enjoy writing, but when I write with a pen, I feel like my writing's much more creative. So when I write on a keyboard, I feel very structured by punctuation, etc. So I end up changing from the way that I think to the way that I read. And so when I do it in handwriting, punctuation sometimes goes out the window until I rewrite it. But it's a lot more creative just from writing with a pen, you know. I think that's a great thing. But now also you've made the transition over to the computer.
I've managed to do that. So so
or dictaphone and still give it to your missus.
I used to do that as well. I used to do that. But now I've progressed to typing myself. Which I'm quite chuffed at. Because I don't come from a computer era, so going from one finger, I can do it all now. So this book was, you know, and the last couple have been done on the computer, and it makes life a lot easier. Like certainly.
It's Do you read a lot as well, or you just?
Yeah, I'm an avid reader, and I think to write, you've got to read. It's as simple as that. I mean, the more you read of other people's stuff, you just see a style. And sometimes I'll read a book just for the story. Other times I'll read it to see how the person writes, you know, and how they put words together. And then that certainly helps you. So we were sort of talking about earlier on, if you're going to do something, you know, you want to do it well, you've got to give it 100%, just as you were saying with, you know, MMA or whatever it is. So I look and see, you know, when I started off writing seriously, say 95 sometime, and where I am now, and I can see that I've improved in how I write, how I term things. So that's good, because that's the same as any progression in whatever you're doing. You know, you like to look back. But at the time, if that's all you had, that's what you went with, like, you know. So you can only look and think, yeah, things are getting better. So for me, it's a passion, and I certainly want to try and keep pursuing that, you know. And I'm working at the moment on a fictional novel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which again, it's been something I've always wanted to do, and I just wondered if I could stretch myself to do it. And I'm working on it, and fingers crossed, hopefully somewhere along the line, maybe we'll get that published. Yeah.
Do you read much fiction?
Yes, yeah. I sort of go between two. You know, I read a lot of autobiographies. You know, I like a lot of stuff, spiritual stuff that, you know, how you can improve yourself. But then I just like a good old sort of crime novel, you know, horror story, whatever. Like,
because I don't really read like fiction. I don't read a lot of fiction. I read I've read like 1984, and I've read a couple of George Orwell things, Animal Farm, and I've read, there's a great book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. That's a great book as a fiction book. Read a few things like that, but a lot of my stuff, I've got lots of books on like the brain and the body.
Yes, sure.
Then like lots of stuff on animals and stuff, birds of prey. Like read a lot of loads of autobiographies. Got like I'm one of those guys. I wanted like a library in my house. You know, like a big leather Chesterfield chair, whatever. Just a massive library behind me. That's what I want when I want, because I try and read like a book a month, sometimes a book a fortnight. I read generally, and always got a book on the go. But I've not really got into reading fiction. Don't captivate me.
I suppose I've got different moods to read. I mean, if I'm on holiday, then I'll read fiction, because I take it as a holiday. I'm not learning. When I read autobiographies or, you know, self-help, but that's, to me, that's work. I'm trying to improve myself all the time. Or I've read countless martial arts and stuff like that, so I always associate that with work. And then when I'm totally chilled, I'll just read something I'm not think too much about, like, and just enjoy it for what it is, like, you know. So I think that's how I hop between one and the other.
So but this new book should be interesting then. Your reflections on who you are and how you've got to where you are.
Certainly, yeah. You know, the good and bad of it, and, you know, some of the people you met along the way, and how martial arts changed, you know, from back in the days where some of the stuff you've done, you thought, how the hell did you get away with training like that without somebody coming and shutting you down, you know? I mean, no insurance, nothing like that.
You and I training with James Thompson, he's 125 kilos,
and then being run over by a bus.
75 kilos, that's it, we're getting punched in the face by it. We've seen some, and I remember... Like more recently, because I don't spar hard now at all. I don't have any hard. So we discourage it from our classes. Paul Reed's one of those guys who he's like, listen, no hard sparring. But back in the day, we thought we had to try and knock each other out. That's what we thought. Sparring. I mean, unless you're still sparring with Nad.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all.
He's only got one way.
And he's like, Nad, you're gonna knock me out with that head kick. And he's like, yeah, I can't throw head kicks soft. Don't throw head kicks. Like, oh, well, I guess. The fuck, you're going to knock me out just because you can't throw them soft. But we, back in the day, we fought it. But that's how you made yourself tough in the gym. Loads of times I've gone into training, like, nervous, almost upset. Like I have to get up an hour early out of bed to like put on some Rocky music and cook myself some eggs.
That's how it was.
We're killers, and we're all hungry, you know, like a real tough group, and you're going to training like moaning the whole way down. Like, oh fuck, why am I doing this? Looking at yourself in the mirror as you're driving, thinking, what are you doing? You get there, it'd be brutal, and then of course afterwards you love it, you know, which makes it worse. Makes it worse because next time it's the same again, and you go hard. But I've seen people like knocked out in sparring, and regularly like
hard,
broken bones in sparring back over the years. Now I mean, especially with the exposure to brain injuries now and the CTE knowledge and stuff. Like, I definitely feel like it's had an effect on me from over the years. Like, I feel like short-term memory is not as good as it should be. Not as good as it was, because I can't remember, but it's not as good as not as good as it should be. You know, I feel like, and my body is. I had this, like, I had some neck problems. I couldn't feel my fingers for 7 months. So I had like MRI. They said you've got a nerve impingement, and you need to do this. So then I went and saw a special physio for that. Nothing was getting better, and then I went and saw this great chiropractor in Bristol, and he took X-rays of me, stood in different positions. He said, "Listen, your head, when you're led down for an MRI, that's not how your neck is. It's not supporting anything. So you need to be." He X-rayed me, and they found I had a small fracture at the back of my neck. And he said, "What I reckon?" He said, "It's an old fracture." He said, "A year, maybe 2 years old." He said, "But your body's compensated for it at some point." And you can see, like, you've got fusing of the spine. You've got spondylosis and stuff of the spine. He said, "So you need to work on that." And you look at it, and I'm like, "Fuck, man, I've beat my body into this, you know. I've beat my body to be like this, and that's with me permanently now. There's you know, these, like, the numbness in my hands, and I keep getting frequent migraines at the moment, all from this neck and this nerve impingement. But you've beat yourself into that. And I think if I could, like, it used to be, people used to say to me, if you could share something with your younger fighting self, what would it be? I was like, warm up better, like, stretch, and that'd be out the window now, and it would be like, now it would be, these are your tools. I mean, your body are your tools. You know, you don't hit a hammer with a hammer. You hit a nail with a hammer. You know, so when you're smashing each other, like, you are, for want of a better metaphor, it's the unstoppable force in a movable object, because you are. That's how you think in your head when you're sparring. You're like, well, I'm not giving, and he's thinking, I'm not giving, and then you're fighting till one of you's hurt, or you have a session where you're both just had a really tough hard session, and it's not, now I can feel it in my body, you know, like, I'm 34 years old, and like, I just feel a bit broken and a bit slower, and not like, I don't feel punch drunk in any stretch of imagination, but, you know, when you read and you feel like it's a bit harder to concentrate some days, and I feel like it has made an impact, and that's something that I think needs to get out of training. You
Certainly, I mean, now scientifically, it's there's a lot more information out there, and people are probably training smarter. Again, we're back to what I was saying earlier on. You only trained with what you had at that time. That's how you train. I'm not saying it was right, but that was, if you went anywhere, that was it. Yeah,
it was right for us, because everyone did it.
I can remember, you know, putting guys through beasting workouts. It went on far too long. Looking back now, far too long, but that's what you thought you've got to do to prepare somebody for the rigours of combat, wherever it is, you know. And I think mentally, you know, it made them strong and physically, but gradually, piece by piece, it was eroding their bodies, mine included. You know, when I give up training in MMA and sparring, etc., and I stopped doing things like sprawls, you know, knee tuck, stuff like that, my back improved 100%. But all the time I was in MMA, my lower back used to be stiff, my knees, my elbows, and it was only when I decided, look, this is no longer beneficial to me, that I got a lot better, and I feel a lot healthier now than maybe I did 10 years ago. So there's some, you know, there's some truth in that, without a doubt. Like,
I find now that I don't even hit bags that often anymore. Only lightly. I'll shadow box a lot now, and I'm not snapping out my arms anymore. Just really good technique and trying to get a good workout. And like, I get fit enough to fight an MMA fight. I get fit enough on a treadmill. That gets me fit enough to fight an MMA fight. When I spar now, it's about how to turn that fitness into applicable usage for an MMA fight. I know I can do a 5-minute round, balls to the wall, because that treadmill will push me harder and more consistently than an MMA spar will. However, I now know, because I've sparred, I can use that fitness and apply it to an MMA round. You know, I think, you know, you can put all that effort in all the days of the shark tanking and the pressure sparring. We all been there, you know. I used to have a lineup of people wanting to punch me in the face over a foot. So then what we do is, you're really fit now. You're fit enough, so you're gonna have 2 people come in this round. You have a fresh person every minute.
There's never any reward.
I mean, no. Then my reward is I'm in the 5th minute I'm getting beat up by like I was fresh. Like,
yeah.
But it was, and I think it was brilliant. It made us, and if we weren't making those mistakes, we wouldn't have realised where we were going wrong, and it wouldn't be where it is now. But like someone like yourself, how old are you now, Kev?
When I fought was 44.
44.
Yeah.
So when you were fighting 44, it's like I'm 34. There's no way. In 10 years' time I'm going to be looking at fighting.
No. I mean, at the time, like I said, I never envisaged I would get to that level. And I'm fortunate enough, touch wood, I managed to maintain my fitness and stay injury free, and I think that's what made me be able to get in and do that. But I can always remember after that fight, and I can remember coming back, I think with yourself and James behind the scenes, and my legs just sort of give up on me, and I just sat down on the floor where I was so mentally and physically exhausted. And what I realised was, although I was fit enough to do it, the intensity of it now on a body of 44 was different to when I was 34, and I was glad it fucking didn't go to second round. I can remember thinking that the bell must be going to go soon, and when I seen his hand tap inwardly, I went, but
that always happens. That's not, you could be super fit. Like when I won the tear up lightweight title, that's probably the most prepared I've been for a fight. I knew it was 5-5s. I hadn't faced a 5-minute round fight before, and I had Paul Reed putting me through my training camp, and Paul's brutal. Like, Paul trains his ass off for a guy who's like in his mid-40s now. He's super fit, super strong. But when he's your coach, because we started work together, we had a team at Olympians. I was like, Paul, you have to take care of my cardio for this fight. So Paul put me through cardio. Paul got me ready, and I was like super fit, like the most prepared I've been for a fight. And I remember end of the first going back, and I thought, I'm going a bit. And by then, I'd had 12 or 13 professional fights by then, so I knew the game. And I'd fought all over the world and fought in the Ultimate Fighter House, so I knew about adrenaline, and so I knew everything like that. But I seen Mamor Fall stood across the cage from me, and I thought, he looks tired. Yeah, he looks more tired than me, definitely. So then go back out second round, come in from the second round. I was like, man, I'm fucking tired now. And James Thompson stood in front of me, talking to me, and all I could breathe in was the heat off of him. So I pushed him towards us. I was like, get the fucking way. And I look at Mamor Fall, and he's leaning on the cage. I'm like, I'm not as fucked as you. And I'm moving now, I'm pacing. I'm like, I'm not as fucked as him. I feel good, I feel good. Yeah. And went into the third, and I'm feeling great. Came out in the third, caught him with a triangle, submit him with a triangle, and I go for this triangle. And the second I went for it, I was like, don't slip out. Yeah. And I grab him the arm. I'm like, should I take the arm bar? No, I don't want to lose the triangle. And I got the triangle. When he tried, I was like, thank fuck for that. It's just a relief. Like, and there's not. Like, I think the joy of fighting is not about winning. I don't fight to win. Like, this is one of the things. You see people like Conor McGregor now. They're just so hungry for winning.
Yes.
It's not about winning for me anymore. It's just, I just want to fight because I've won, and winning only feels as good as it ever does when you win. Sure. Losing only feels as bad as it does when you lose. It's just how it is, It's not. It's not going to feel any worse than the last time you lost. It's not going to feel any greater next time you win. So for me, it's about fighting and fighting the best fight that I can do now. But when that person taps, I'm like, yes, it is about winning after all. Yeah, it's a nice feeling, mate. And then, like you say, that like hollow. Like, I was gonna go out and party at the after party. Now I'm gonna go cold bath and go to bed. Yeah. But I mean, you're in great. I mean, you're in great nick. Like you are in great shape. Like, just from looking at you, you still train a lot. You are in great shape, and you think that that's accredited because you keep training.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. I know people that train with me, say in their 20s. Give it up for whatever reason, come back in their 40s trying to recapture what they had, and it just doesn't work. My fitness side of things have always been a passion for me since a kid. So if I hadn't done martial arts, I would have still been going in the gym or going out running or whatever it is. And it's just become part of my life, the same as eating, drinking, watching TV, whatever. It's not something that I think, oh, God, I've got to go and do. Sure, when you were fighting or maybe grading for a belt where you had to do extra training, there's days where you thought, oh fuck, I don't want to get up. But in general now, I look forward to do it. It's just something I do in the day, and then carry on and do whatever else I do, like, you know. So it'll be a big part of my life, and hopefully it just keeps me doing what I want to do. You know, I can still teach, I can still move, you know, break, fall, roll, whatever. And I think if I can still keep that degree of fitness and mobility, then I'll go on as long as I want to, like,
I think it definitely keeps you young, you know, like from sticking with it and having those aches and pains. I always feel my best when I'm training. When I have a long period off, like I had this time off now because of my neck. I've only had time off of MMA. I've still trained. I've still been running and walking. And I was training for some paragliding adventure races and stuff, and so running and walking a lot. I feel my best when I'm training. Maybe because I've been an athlete for so long that when you stop, your body's not. I suppose it'd be like being, you know, if you've been a slob for so long and you start training, you know, it's just the same thing. Definitely. My body sort of breaks down a little bit when I don't train, you know, all these muscles, and that's what's keeping me together. That's the glue that's holding me together. So when that slackens off, my skeleton's actually just like, fuck, we're a 34-year-old skeleton, we're not, he beat us up a bit, you know. So I think the training makes it a lot better. So I think the best way is, for me, and like you said, to just stay in shape. You know, so.
I think you adapt. I think, you know, I look back and probably every 10 years of my career, I changed and adapted my training for where I was, you know. And I know when I eventually give up competitively fighting, for at least another year I was still training crazy, and it was my boys said to me one day, "Dad, what the fuck are you doing? Are you going to fight again?" I said, "No." They said, "Well, why are you training like you're going to fight tomorrow?" And I thought, you're right, but I was frightened to let go because I thought if I did, I'd fall apart. Because that's how I'd done it for so long. But gradually, by little increments, I thought, well, I'll leave that out, then I'll leave this out, and I found actually I feel good. I actually feel better, and all these little injuries, niggles are gone, and I thought, to be honest, I don't feel that much different. And I think, well, what is it I want to do now? Am I ever going to go back in and fight 6 rounds? No, I'm not. So am I fit and healthy? And, you know, if I had to do something, have I got that fitness? Yeah. So then you square it away in your head and say, that's fine, you know, this is where I am now, and, you know, this is how I'm going to live, and this is how I'm going to train. And I'm making it sound easy. It was a massive decision for me, and I agonised over it for probably a couple of years. But once I'd done it, I knew it was the right thing to do, and I can only say now I've benefited from it 100%. Like, so you just can't keep dragging something round with you because that's what you've done. You know.
So I get that now. I find myself saying things that make me feel old. Like I say stuff like, I used to be able to do that, and the other day I was teaching the kids wrestling, and Jake was doing some backflips, and I said, "I'll put a crash mat out, I'll do one." And I went to do one, and I did like a laboured back. I was like, and I was like, I used to be able to do that. I'm like, I used to, shit. And you kind of get to a point where, like, you don't want to say I used to be able to do that. You dread saying, like, ego, I guess it is. I mean, like, I used to be able, and so people have been like, I went to a boxing club, a Schemer's boxing club, do a bit of boxing up there and teach a couple of his guys, and we started training, and somebody said like, "Oh yeah, Wes is like the fittest guy in the room," and I'm like, fuck, I don't want me to prove it, because that might have been true at one point, I don't know about now. And you find yourself like, I want to be the fittest guy in the room again, I want to, you know, and you find yourself caught with this ego of like, I want to be able to do 10 rounds, I want to be able to walk in the gym and do a boxing spar fresh, like still in your jeans and stuff, you know, I want to be that guy still, but at the same time I'm really glad that I'm not. I'm really glad that, you know, I know now how to train properly and focus. If I'm fighting, that's how I train for a fight, because I think otherwise you get where I think it can inhibit you as a professional athlete if you're constantly at a level of what would be considered your peak fitness. You've got nowhere to go, like when you're getting ready for a fight, etc. You have nowhere to go. The up in the gas in the fight, let's say, towards the 3rd round, you're plateauing all the time. And I think it's better to have your body just ticking over, and then when you're getting ready for something specific, boom, boost it up, you know. And I know I can be in fight shape in about 6 to 7 weeks, cardio-wise. This is based. Getting your weight down is another thing, but cardio-wise, like 6 to 7 weeks, I can be on it, ready to fight. So I find that if I've got 12 weeks to fight camp, I'm not starting my hard cardio, my heel sprints, my Tabata stuff. I'm not starting that 12 weeks out. because the intensity that puts on my body, on my cardiovascular system, is not needed.
Yeah.
I don't need to be fight fit in 6 weeks and then maintain that. I need to be at a high level of fitness until I'm 6 weeks out, and then up that, so I'm at peak fitness and my body's not burning out, you know, and managing that, managing that so I can be that guy. That's something that you learn, you know.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
you get to,
Yes.
But what is the plan now? What have you got, like, hobby wise or anything? Do you do anything else outside or?
Okay, yeah, I mean, at the moment, I also like walking, I like travelling, and I haven't been able to do as much as that as I'd like, so that's something that I definitely want to do, and yeah, just get outside of a gym or dojo environment and, you know, just walk, take in some fresh air and do something totally different. I guess for as many years as I can remember, most of my exercise is based around being in a gym or a training hall somewhere, and sometimes it's nice just to get out, you know,
not that smell of sweat and
and walk and realise you are exercising while you're doing that. You know, I never associated it. You know, I always associated, you know, being in a puddle on a fucking floor, that's exercise. Walking, no, that ain't. That's just where you go somewhere.
Because your car's broke down.
So, but now I think I really do enjoy it. You know, it's something you can do. You can, you know, keep a level of fitness, but you can chat, look at things. So I like, that's certainly what I'm doing. Like I said to you, the writing, I definitely want to. I would love to get my novel published and maybe get a deal where, you know, I could maybe write another couple of books. I see myself doing that. I like it because it pushes me mentally. You know, I've pushed myself physically a hell of a lot over my time. Now this is pushing me a different way. When I sit down in front of, you know, the laptop, it's just the same as crawling into a cage or onto the mat. I get the same feelings because I know it's going to push me, and I've got to talk myself into it some days. So I like that because I know I'm breaking new territory and doing something else, but applying all the lessons that I learned from martial arts into another discipline, and hopefully it works for me. So that, and, you know, looking after grandchildren as well, I'm enjoying that, being a granddad, which is great, and still fit enough to run around after them and have a bit of fun with them. So yeah, it's got its benefits.
I think, like, there's a creativeness in a lot of guys who compete in MMA or compete or focus on fighting, etc. There's like a creativeness within these people that doesn't get seen. Like, so James Thompson's obviously an articulate guy who writes and stuff. I mean, okay, he's absolutely nuts, but like, he writes and stuff, and he reads and stuff. Like yourself, you obviously write, you explore other things. I like to write, I read, I paraglide, I skydive, I love to travel. Yourself, you like to travel. I think there's like a sense of adventure in a lot of MMA, and sorry, not just MMA, and a lot of combat sports guys. That maybe it's the same with everybody, but maybe what happens is that people have this sense of adventure or longing to do things, but they don't do it, and maybe the guys who experience MMA or martial arts, maybe they just push themselves to it more. They're a bit more like, they live their life a bit more like, I've got this urge to do something. And I think once you've been in a gym and the hardest thing is standing against another man and fighting with him, because there's no bullshit. You can tell someone, I can do like a right uppercut, left hook, low kick, I can do spinning hook kicks, I can double leg you. But if we go on the mat, you've got to show me you can do that. There's no bullshit, you know. So I think when you've got that in your life, you push for doing the things that you want to do, because the excuses aren't there, I guess, is what I'm looking to say. As where a lot of people say to me, when I was in America, obviously I went for 9 days, I stayed a year, and lots of people would message me on Facebook, oh, your trip's so inspiring, I wish I could do that. In the end, I couldn't respond to people, because I was like, my response is only ever going to be, do it. Like, I don't understand in my head why you're not doing it. You can come up with as many bullshit excuses as you want, but then my answer or my rebuttal is always going to be, then you don't want to do it.
No, you're right. Yes.
It's that simple, like, you know. But someone like yourself, you're saying like you find the enjoyment in walking. So I think that's just a creativeness that there seems to be in people who compete in, especially within combat sports. You know?
Without doubt. I mean, like you say, it could be relevant in other things, but I found martial arts allowed me and give me the confidence and belief to try other things in my life that I probably never would have done if I hadn't. So for me, martial arts was a vehicle, not only for, you know, obviously giving you fighting skills and etc., but it gave me belief and confidence. Well, if I can do that, why can't I do this? And quite rightly, like you said, when you look at some of the things you've done in martial arts, you think, well, how hard is that going to be compared to what I've done there? But it's easy to look at that and talk yourself out of it. So I think that, you know, I got a lot out of martial arts in itself, but I think the best thing was it gave me belief and confidence to go out and do other things in my life and experience things that I never thought I would. And I wholly encourage everybody, and I think, you know, martial arts is a great vehicle to help people find that confidence and belief, like, you know.
I agree. I agree. And the boys carrying on your name, like Jake and Tom, like they're both got, like Jake's not so active as in training wise anymore. He coaches a lot, etc. But Tom's jiu-jitsu's like really high level and stuff, you know, and that must make you proud to see.
Absolutely fantastic. You know, I can remember for years teaching them and lying on them in crossbody and pounding them and grinding them. They could never get out, and then there was this day where suddenly, hang on a minute, they're fucking out of this, and suddenly they've got my neck or my leg, and I thought, the sort of mantle's moved on, and they've taken it to another level where they're absolutely passionate about it, and they've just sort of taken it beyond, and some of the stuff they're doing is fantastic. So I'm really proud. I'm really proud.
I mean, obviously I've worked with Jake on a professional level, and I've worked with him training, and I've trained with Tom, and Tom trained a lot with us. So I know those guys. It must be it must be great for them as well, having like a lineage, you know, to look back. I obviously, no one in my family is a fighter. My dad's like done a bit of martial arts in the past, but I was never brought up with fighting or MMA. But that's the O'Hagan name. You sort of made it. So when you get that, I guess it's one of those things where you're thinking, where does it go? Will your boys carry on with this? And to have them both so involved with fitness and combat sports, it must be like.
It is, you know. From young, I never pushed them to do it, but they grew up with me doing it, you know. And when I taught and trained, they would come with me, sit on the mat side, watch me, and then eventually it was a natural progression to want to come on the mats and train. They started training, you know, probably 5 or 6 years of age. So although now, you know, I think Tom's 31 and Jake's probably 29, they've been in it a hell of a long time, because they were literally sort of straight on the mats from 5 years of age training. So, you know, they have a lot of experience there. It was nice. It was the reason we got the gym. The gym wasn't really for me. It is a legacy. It's to carry on the name. You know, people know me in Bristol for a long time teaching, and I would just like to keep that going and keep the name going. And, you know, everybody and anybody's welcome to come. You know, I've always been open-minded with that, and, you know, I just love to see people train, and particularly for Bristol, it's good for us, you know.
This is the thing with Bristol. We've got a massive history of the fighting arts, like boxing wise. Glenn Catley. We've got Ross. What's the name? Rooster. Ross. Rossell.
Rossell.
We got Adrian. We've got so many great boxers who have come out of here. You know, like Mike Graydon, great guys who had loads of potential. Younger guys come out of here. And then now MMA wise, where was like I think less than 10 people in the country when me and James started. Like, Lee Remedios was not local at that point. He was over in Kent. And so then we had the Gloucester guys like Paul Sutherland. So it's really good that Bristol's got like a hub for this sort of thing, you know.
Which is nice, you know.
I think it's really cool.
You know, I sort of look back on those early days, and, you know, yourself and Paul, Nad, and Greg, all these people, you know, you went on, and I always was proud. I followed your career. I was proud of all of you, what you've done, and it was nice that, you know, you started off with me, and I respected the fact that you've gone on to bigger and better things, but never forgot that, you know. And it was lovely to see all you guys get that success, you know. And I think that's what it's about.
It's good to hear. Like, it's nice to hear that, because we've had like you and I have kept this relationship where there seems to be what a lot of people don't see about MMA is like there's like this bitchy sort of close-knit scene, which we've never had. Like when I ran my gym, open door, anyone. And I remember when like Paul Bush and those guys were getting ready for their fights, they'd come up and train with us because they were
Yeah.
sparring, and you were like,
Yeah,
go up and
cage
see
fight.
Wes and stuff. They got some guys to spar with, or I'd send some guys over to your class, and then because we understood that. Listen, it's not. I'm not worried about losing £5 a session for someone to go and train. That's not what I'm in this for. If you've got guys there that are at the right weight for someone who can help, then send them over and we train. It seems I find it so counterintuitive that we're in a sport that's called mixed martial arts, but people are scared about sharing their students. They'll share knowledge with their select group of students, but if that student wants to learn anywhere else, or if somebody wants to come in, it's a close book. Like what? I just think it's so counterintuitive to what we promote, you know. So the fact that you've done that over the years, and it's been sort of open door. It's always been respected by myself and Paul as well. You know, we've always found that to be respected, like respected about you, you know. So so the book is in publishing, so that'll be out soon.
Yes.
What's your website so that people can?
It's www.kevinohagan.com. They can go on there. You know, I've got all my other stuff on there. I also write blogs on there, etc. If they want to read them, and then anything about the book will be up there, no doubt, and also on Facebook if anybody wants to, you know, become a friend. If they're not, there'll be details up there as well. So
definitely add on Facebook. Definitely add on Facebook. Add the gym, the Impact Gym. Impact Gym Bristol. Add the gym as well, and find out what's going on with the gym. You know, and Tear Up as well. The fight show's back, right? They've brought that. Jake's brought that back. So,
the first one.
Do you have much involvement with that, or is that Jake's baby? Or
I do the MCing. Yeah. I've taken that role over, so I've been doing that for the last 4 or 5 shows. So so I still have involvement in that, which is great. Just another perspective. So I enjoy that. So there should be another one hopefully, you know, later this year. So we're looking forward to getting that up and going again.
That'd be great for Bristol.
That's what it's about. It's just showcasing, you know, Bristol talent. There's nobody else doing it in this area, so it's just great to have a show. Where,
definitely. Because too many people want to make money, mate. That's what that is. And when you get someone like yourself, who Jake, and obviously nobody wants to make a loss on these things. But when you get some people who are a bit more motivated by, listen, let's just do a showcase and present something. If we make a profit, we make a profit. As long as we're not making a loss, that's the main thing.
You can keep running them, you know.
Exactly.
And people a chance to get out there.
So if there's anyone like listening who have a fight team, etc., and they're not from Bristol, get in touch, get your guys matched on that card. It's a great card to get your guys on. Well, I mean, I can speak from being the Tear Up lightweight champion. I can speak. It's a professionally ran show. The commentating's good, the MC's brilliant, but also the judging's always fair, the reffing's always fair. You go to away shows a lot of the time and you're worried, but that's something that I find locally, is that we don't do that. You know, you come here and you fight on Tear Up, you guys get a fair doing. You know, all the judges are fairly picked, and so I think it's a great show. Get any guys who are looking to match guys to get in touch for that, or stay in touch with Tear Up. Definitely. Well, I'll make sure I get a copy of your book when that's out.
No problem.
We'll have to sit down and do this again.
Go really over the. Nice to have a chat.
I agree, mate. Nice to catch up after all this time. So thanks for that, mate, and I'll make sure we go over the book next time.
Brilliant. Nice to speak to you.
Take care, mate. Thanks.
Cheers.